I watched her documentary before she ever became big. I think I seen it on PBS, on Channel 13. You can tell she was a rough. She had anger problems. She was not ladylike. She was nigga boy, boy. Nah, and she, nigga, she went through the process and corrected what needed to be corrected to represent what a champ is. She ain't no Layla Ali. None of our new youth are what our old stars used to be. They got their own mind, they got their own identity. So nah, man, they picking on Claressa. And can't nobody whoop her. So
Get ready, because what I'm about to share isn't gossip. It's not a random rumor, and it's not social media noise. This is the moment the story cracks wide open. Charleston White finally spoke, and he didn't yell or throw shade. He didn't insult anyone. He simply said the part everyone else was afraid to say. People assumed his silence meant loyalty, but in reality, it was the loudest confession of all. Charleston recalled watching Claressa's early days on television, seeing a raw, fiery kid fueled by toughness and anger. She wasn't polished, she wasn't traditionally ladylike. She was a tomboy with a wild edge. But she worked relentlessly, fixed what needed fixing, and turned herself into a champion. Not perfect, not like the old legends, but unstoppable in her own way. For years, the public bought into the fairy tale. Claressa Shields, the flawless fighter, part of a power couple everyone admired. Fame, money, and applause became the focus. But Charleston asked the question no one wanted to hear. What if it was never really love? What if the image was to set up a carefully crafted brand disguised as romance? He didn't scream. He didn't accuse. He let the pattern speak. Claressa didn't rise on talent alone. She was molded, shaped, polished, and protected behind belts, cameras, and bright lights.
So Claressa Shields wants to have babies with Papoose while he's still married to Remy.
They gonna look like African kids, Ugandan babies. Yeah. They ain't gonna know if them babies Nigerian, Jamaican, or Haitian. But they gonna have some pretty chocolate skin. Don't know if their hair gonna be too straight or wavy. They may have African hair. But they sure gonna be nigga kids. Yeah. They gonna be some smart kids that know how to fight.
Money, control, and careful guidance moved silently. That perfect partner wasn't there for love alone. That quiet presence was part of a system, part of a plan. Charleston didn't attack her skills. He respected her game. What he exposed was the bubble around her, the protection that made her untouchable. He broke down how fame can shield someone from reality, how immunity becomes an illusion, and how brand control can turn relationships into alliances rather than love stories. According to him, Claressa's path was less about chaos and raw emotion, and more about careful design fights chosen, risks managed, images polished, and narratives quietly shaped behind the scenes. Was Papoose not loud, not confrontational, just a steady hand keeping the story clean? In Charleston's words, protection turned into policy. Silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Claressa's power couple image suddenly looked less like romance and more like a carefully structured partnership. Every move served a purpose. She needed safety and respect. He needed relevance and access. Together, they weren't just powerful, they were untouchable. And when someone like Remy Ma entered the picture, refusing to play along, the cracks in the system began to show. Charleston didn't scream. He revealed the structure, the patterns, and the quiet truths others ignored. The illusion of love fractured. The strategy stood exposed.
Papoose, and this is why I say that. You ain't never heard no hoe come out and say nothing bad about him for her. Even when his hoe was doing wrong, he wasn't running to the internet bashing her. And he don't speak much. He's a man of silence, so that means his words are important to him. I done seen him get with two women, and it seemed like he brought the best out of both women. Yeah, I don't know too many niggas that go hold their girl down when they go to jail.
Charleston White didn't throw wild accusations or spin conspiracy theories. He broke the pattern. He showed how certain voices get amplified while others quietly fade. He explained that stories don't shift because the truth changes, they shift because someone decides what's useful. Within that system, Claressa Shields wasn't just a boxer. She became an asset, a polished symbol, a carefully guarded image that had to remain flawless at any cost. Then Charleston addressed the question people online had been whispering. Why is Papoose always silent? Why doesn't he defend himself? Why do no exes ever come forward attacking him first? Charleston flipped the script. Papoose's silence isn't weakness, it's discipline, a mastery of control. He explained that choosing not to react publicly doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means someone knows exactly when, how, and if to speak. That kind of silence carries weight. It shapes perception, and sometimes it's more dangerous than any rant. Charleston pointed to examples where Papoose's calm presence seemed to bring out the best in the women around him, not through charm alone, but through restraint. Silence in this context becomes strategy. From that moment on, the tone shifted. The conversation grew darker, more unsettling, and harder to ignore.
There's a player, nigga. That smooth player, nigga. Now, man, now, you always supposed to play for the bank. My grandmama told me, if a woman really like you, it ain't nothing she won't do for you. Well, grandmama, how you know if she really like you? She'll give you her money.
Charleston dug into what happens when fame hits its peak. The person at the center stops evolving, while being near power becomes the
Charleston dug into what happens when fame reaches its peak. The person at the center often stops evolving, while proximity to power becomes the fastest path back to relevance. He didn't say Papoose exploited Claressa. Instead, he exposed her. Reality, opportunity meets those ready to seize it. Two needs align: security on one side, access on the other, and suddenly everyone calls it love. Because strategy sounds too cold. Claressa's world had shifted from raw boxing talent to image, control, brand protection, and zero risk. Questioning that system wasn't just disagreement. It was a threat. In that environment, relationships began to resemble deals rather than feelings. Charleston also took aim at the media. The same outlets that shout empowerment often go silent. Under scrutiny, safe narratives get recycled while inconvenient truths are filtered out. That silence isn't neutrality, it's cooperation. He explained how control doesn't arrive loudly. It slips in quietly, disguised as loyalty, love, and protection. When freedom meets control, the line blurs and the system takes over. Then Charleston delivered the hardest truth of all, the physical toll. Fight after fight, injury after injury, vulnerability builds. Dependence creeps in. Suddenly, the people around you aren't there to lift you up, they're there because you can't imagine life without them. That isn't love. That's quiet control. Charleston didn't villainize anyone. He mapped incentives, motives, and the way fame reshapes behavior. Zooming out, he made it clear this story isn't just about Claressa, Papoose, or Remy Ma. It's about power, perception, and what success quietly demands behind the scenes.
Papoose, you have my lawyer's information. If you can't afford to retain a lawyer, since your lawyer that the number you gave us has not been retained yet, I told you I'll paper it. If somebody over there that loves you wants to paper it, great. That will make me happy. Everything is signed and ready to go. I don't want nothing. I'm not even asking for child support. My daughter's school, her babysitter, her nanny, her gymnastics, her swimming, her dancing, her healthcare, her all of that. I take care of it like I've always done. I don't need anything.
It's about how
this story isn't really about romance. It's about how public relationships often operate like business deals. Who brings value? Who protects the image? Who controls access and who absorbs the risk? When usefulness becomes the foundation of a relationship, collapse isn't dramatic, it's systematic. PR rebranding and strategic silence can't stop a leak once the system begins to shift. Efficiency replaces emotion. Love doesn't disappear, it becomes leverage. Stability turns into emotional currency. Claressa may earn more, but the structure still favors careful control. When Charleston White finally spoke, he didn't attack or accuse. He exposed the system itself. People rushed to label the situation, defaulting to familiar narratives. Gold digger, opportunist, user. Charleston shut that down immediately. This wasn't about taking money. It was about access, about moving through spaces where wealth, power, and influence flow freely, even if none of it truly belongs to you. That illusion of equality is where real power hides. Influence beats ownership, and proximity often matters more than authority. That's quiet control, the kind that runs the room without anyone noticing. Then Charleston dropped the line that cut deepest. People fear the moment generosity isn't manipulation, but validation. It wasn't about buying love. It was about access, because access is currency. Who can enter your world without resistance? Who moves freely while others wait at the door? That's the real power dynamic, whether anyone admits it or not. Charleston zoomed out even further, pointing out how fans and media obsess over income and roles while missing the core issue. It's not about who earns more, it's about who decides when to speak, when to stay silent, and who shapes the narrative. In that world, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Loud people burn bridges fast. Quiet people own the room. Then came Remy, the wild card, unfiltered, unpredictable, unpolished, unwilling to play by the rules. In a world obsessed with brand safety and clean optics that makes her a threat, Charleston made it clear this wasn't heartbreak, it was risk control. Systems reward predictability. Anyone who challenges them gets labeled bitter, jealous, or unstable. That's how silence stays powerful. That's how narratives remain curated. And when the system reaches its expiration date, it doesn't collapse with fireworks. It fades. Protection weakens. Usefulness ends. Leaks don't explode, they slip out piece by piece. Charleston tied it all back to the physical toll of the game. Fight after fight. Injury after injury. Recovery after recovery. The body wears down. Fatigue breeds dependence. Dependence slowly turns into control, not because someone is evil, but because systems thrive on exhaustion. A person under constant pressure stops questioning, stops resisting, stops needing freedom. That's how setups survive, through fatigue, convenience, and carefully managed care. Charleston reframed marriage and partnerships as infrastructure, not romance. Most relationships collapse because people focus on feelings instead of structure. When love is treated like a contract built on planning, duty, and alignment, it can endure. But in modern celebrity culture, many relationships function like contracts without paperwork. Alignment replaces affection. Silence becomes policy. Protection turns into leverage. And once silence loses its power, cracks appear. The image falters, control slips. What once looked like loyalty or love suddenly feels transactional. Charleston also reminded everyone that fans are part of the system. Every cheer for a brand over a person, every defense of an image instead of reality reinforces the cycle. Silence is rewarded from the top down and the bottom up. And when the lights fade, protection disappears and the mask comes off, the truth doesn't arrive loudly, it sneaks out quietly. There's no scandal, no explosion, just clarity. Systems don't collapse from noise, they collapse from irrelevance. When maintaining the illusion costs more than it benefits, everything falls apart on its own. The wildest part is realizing that once the illusion ends, what looked like love, loyalty, or protection was a transaction everyone participated in. Betrayal isn't loud. It's calm, structured, and polished. Charleston didn't scream. He didn't rage. He exposed the invisible mechanics. And when the story finally ends, the silence breaks by itself. That's when truth speaks, unfiltered, unstoppable, and unavoidable. So what do you think? Was Charleston White exposing real patterns or just stirring controversy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's unpack this story together.